Hey there everybody, AJ back again for the Mighty Glue Stick channel. This is a special shout out to Chris Calvin, who just asked me about this particular type of creature just as I was finishing off the script, so it's kind of bizarre. Given the tremendous popularity of the Tabaxi as a player character race, and knowing that there are a good chunk of dog-loving role players out there, today I present to you one of the most playable races from the world of Mystara, the campaign setting created for the D&D basic rule set. I'd like to point out once more that D&D Basic was the most successful edition of all time, being published in 1977 with many revision sets throughout the years and millions of copies sold. I mean, it got me into the hobby, and the support for the product line only ended in 1995. So Basic lasted for 18 years, and there were a lot of folks who were still playing Basic D&D when 3rd edition was released in 2000. Even now, there's quite a revival of the Basic rule set going on. I even have a copy of D&D Basic myself. So Mystara is still very much a part of the D&D multiverse. You can certainly run your 5th edition games there, and it's not impossible that races and creatures from Mystara have found their way into the world of Toril, particularly the remote land of Zakara and over the mighty range where the mighty mountain range where the dwarves originated. The Lupin can be found, could be found on the vast grassy plains of the Hordelands. So they're not officially a part of the Faerun continent, but they could be. I'm just saying. The Lupin first appeared in Dungeons & Dragons adventure modules Castle Amber, the Savage Coast. The Savage Coast was the part of Mystara that they called home, and the Night Howlers to a lesser extent. The Lupin also appeared in the creature catalogues published in 1986 and 1993. Then the Mystara Monstrous Compendium supplement published for 2nd edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, so they made the transition from basic D&D into the D&D that our 5th edition is derived from. But by far the most and best information on them is detailed in the Ecology article by Mike McArthur, written about them in the pages of Dragon Magazine 325, and this was published in 2004, so that would be for the 3rd edition of Dungeons & Dragons. So they've made the transition through. If you wanted to convert them to 5th edition, they are medium humanoids. Technically they're one of the monstrous races, but they make for superb player characters and function very well in a civilized society, as you'll find out. Base speed is 30 feet. They have physical qualities quite similar to humans, but they've got sharp senses and they're a social, gregarious, trustworthy sort of natured species. So they have a +1 to wisdom and a +1 to charisma. Lupins can see in the dark up to 60 feet, but their sense of smell is, as you would expect, very good. A Lupin's nose allows them to locate and identify certain races and creatures by their smell and aid them in tracking. A Lupin can automatically gets an attempt, a DC 10 wisdom check, to detect a lycanthrope within 30 feet, regardless of what form that creature is in. If the lycanthrope is downwind, the range that the Lupin can detect it doubles, and if upwind, the range is halved. And that's a good thing to remember about any spell and scent checks, actually. So keep that in mind, that wind direction thing. A Lupin has a much better ability to detect and distinguish between the scents of creatures. This gives the Lupin advantage on checks made to oppose a disguise check if the individual comes within 5 feet and if the Lupin has smelled that person before. So they'll be able to recognize them by their scent. Also, a Lupin within 5 feet of an invisible or hidden creature is entitled to an automatic DC 20 wisdom check to pinpoint that creature, whether they know that there's an invisible creature there or not. They have double the normal attribute bonus on any survival checks made to follow tracks using their sense of smell. So you basically just double their wisdom attribute in most cases, in conjunction with their other senses, of course, which it operates with. On the downside, they suffer disadvantage on saving throws against harmful or debilitating effects that are based on odors, smells. Likewise, their great sense of hearing also provides them with double their wisdom bonus to listening checks. They are trained from a very young age in the martial tradition against were creatures specifically, and they also spend a lot of their time in the saddle. Even settled Lupins tend to normally own a horse or some other sort of riding creature, such as a giant wolf. And they cover vast ranges over the grasslands, but generally they live in forested areas that are on the border of vast grasslands and things. So Lupins have a +2 racial bonus on all riding checks and a +1 to all attack and damage rolls against lycanthropes of any kind. If they are Lupins who train as rangers, they have a strong cultural inclination to choose lycanthropes as a favoured enemy. Lupins speak thickly accented common to non-Lupin visitors. When among their own kind, they speak Lupin, a visual as well as verbal language consisting of words as well as growls, barks, and subtle shifts of the body. Anybody who is familiar with dogs knows what these general messages and signals are. The Lupin's language has no S, as Lupin's long muzzles make it difficult for them to create the sound. Many of their words have only 1 or 2 syllables and begin with hard consonants. The language also tends to use the short O, and short U sounds, and many of the words end with a hard F. But what are they? Where do they come from? The truth is, nobody really knows for sure. There's various rumours. Some people think that they're descended from gnolls. Some people think that they're like a variant of shifters that are derived from crossing of lycanthropes and humans. Who knows? And this uncertainty that kind of plagues the Lupin, who would otherwise get along very well with the civilized races. See, you look at a tabaxi and the first thought that crosses your mind is not, look out, it's a were-tiger. But the reputation of werewolves is such that Lupins battle the gut reaction of other races who are not familiar with what they are. Almost every time that they are encountered, they get that same reaction. Imagine what effect that would have on human society if every time they were encountered by another race, those people would automatically assume that all humans were bloodthirsty vampire murderers. The effect on the Lupins is that they want, fervently, to wipe out all lycanthropes off the face of whatever planet they are living on. And they pass this on to their pups, who start to train to fight werewolves from the moment they've weaned off milk and have eaten their first meal of solid food. This occasion is known as the child's moonset, and it's one of the few important rites of passage in Lupin society. They've got a few rites that they undertake as they grow up. They reach adulthood at the age of 14. And they've got a similar lifespan to humans. It's taken care of, this moonset ritual is taken care of by the tribe's lycanthrope hunting rangers, who are called hruffs. Built like humans with the head of dogs, many creatures also mistake Lupins for gnolls from a distance. A short coat of fur covers a Lupin from head to toe, while longer, silkier hair, very much like a human's, grows from the top of their heads. A Lupin's body fur tends to be monochromatic, at least for the Mystara ones, ranging from a light grey from all the shades of brown to black, with occasional Lupins sporting coats of bright red or golden yellow. Extraordinarily rare white-coated Lupins do exist, but few non-Lupins ever get to see them. Many Lupins have a lighter shade of their body fur on their muzzle, their ears and around their eyes, while their head hair tends to be slightly darker. White muzzle fur on the head and around the muzzle, that sort of peppering of white hair marks the Lupin elders, so it serves the same sort of function as grey hair in humans. That may not exactly be the case for all Lupins. This may just be the predominant coloration of Lupins native to Mystara. So it could well be that the Lupins of the Hordelands have two-tone coloration similar to Timberwolves. They may have a bloodline where males grow longer fur on their whole head, like lions grow a mane. Much like the tabaxi, personally I think it's fine to emulate the appearance of various feline breeds, even bobcats and mountain lions, because they're just more fun that way, and really it doesn't harm anything. Thick, leathery skin covers the palms of Lupin hands and the soles of their feet, and they usually keep their claw-like nails and toenails cut short. Lupins have short, non-prehensile tails, they're dog tails, that sometimes they have difficulty controlling, because especially when they're anxious or excited, the tail seems to be directly tied to their emotions, much like the hands of humans generally fidget around and gesture when they're thinking or feeling things. Part of the non-visual component of their language has got to do with the position of their ears and their tail, just like any other canine. Though Lupins are of course quite aware that humans, elves, dwarves and halflings have a different meaning associated with the baring of one's teeth. Lupins don't smile unless they are doing it for the benefit of non-Lupins. Baring their teeth in Lupin society means something quite different. At puberty, Lupins undergo another rite called Rorutu for boys and Rudrata for girls. The exact rite varies from tribe to tribe, but it typically includes spending a night on the grasslands with only the horse that they've ridden in with as company. Succeeding at this rite makes the young Lupin an official member of the tribe and allows him or her the chance to venture with the elders to a white howl, which is another ritual. Once a Lupin's muzzle and head hair begin to turn white, a natural change from as they go into the onset of elder is like middle age, they pass through one final rite comprised of fasting and intense meditation. At the conclusion of this rite, the old Lupin is recognised as an elder and becomes eligible for the greatest honours to represent the tribe on the White Hell meetings. Lupins live in tribes consisting of 3 to 12 packs, and each pack contains 2 to 10 adults and several pups. Lupin tribes practice strict egalitarian democracy and usually operate without a leader, although elders in the tribe can often sway the votes of the younger members. This is actually true of Timberwolves and things like that. The whole concept of there being an alpha couple was largely discredited, but unfortunately it's persisted for a very long time. It just so happens that the observation of one particular wolf leading the pack is just because they're more used to breaking through ice and snow in timber wolf populations, but they're not actually any more in charge of the pack as anybody else. Once per year, the tribe selects a spokesperson from among the pack's elders as a representative. This individual cannot hold the post longer than a year and cannot be selected again until an elder from every other pack in the tribe has acted as a spokesperson. The selected elder and a retinue of unwed youths then travels to a gathering of other spokespeople Lupins from nearby tribes. This gathering, the White Hell, acts as both a meeting for important discussions among the elders as well as a chance for young Lupins to find mates from outside the tribe. A White Hell often degenerates into a celebration that lasts for up to 3 weeks because the Lupins are very trustworthy and gregarious creatures. They have a great society. The Lupins' semi-nomadic life centers around their village longhouses, which are built in large ring patterns enclosing their central community space. In the middle of this space, the Lupins maintain a continuous flame known as a big terror. Even when the tribe moves from its village to wander the relatively dry plains for the 3 months of summer in Mystara, or however long it lasts in the Hordelands, the tribe's big terror continues to burn inside a copper-lined cedar bowl. The task of keeping the big terror lit falls upon a group of Lupin girls, too young to bear children. One such pup from each pack within the tribe is basically contributed to this group. These girls, known as big terror mates, often grow to prominence within the community in adulthood, as they are so often present at important meetings, are privy to a lot of the rumours and goings on of the tribe, what's going on within the individual packs within the overall tribe. And the Lupin are very social creatures. They have a complicated social hierarchy based on a lot of different factors, and individuals within the tribe and within the pack are very aware of their social standing at all times. Anybody who's gone to a high school will understand this completely. Basically, it's a little bit like an everlasting soap opera, and the big terror becomes an important social group because they know everything about what's going on. When a Lupin returns from the hunt or some long trading journey or quest or what have you, they always stop by the big terror and have a long chat to catch up on all the important news and gossip within the tribe. It also serves to let everyone know that they're back, because standing at the big terror, they are seen by everyone and are usually greeted by everyone, particularly if they're a popular person who has a lot of standing within the tribe. Many Lupin tribes consider the week of the full moon an important religious time. During these days when the moon is brightest, roughs from nearby villages join to form hunting packs known as Aflir, and these Aflir packs have the specific purpose of hunting down and killing as many werewolves and other lycanthropes as possible. Like many other races, Lupins have a pantheon of godlike beings, that to whom they pay homage, but they're not prone to worship that the other races display. You would be lucky to hear a Lupin giving thanks to Saint Renard, their version of Palor or Lathander, before they turn around a few times and bed down for the night. Yes, their primary god is called Saint Renard. They think of the great heroes and the legendary figures as saints, first among equals. They don't fear them and don't really think that they would bother coming back from Celestia to help or hinder mortal Lupins. Lupins know that if they lead a good and just life, they will go to the silver heaven of Lunia, the first layer of Mount Celestia. All Lupins consider trust and loyalty the hallmarks of responsible social behaviour. They generally work for the well-being of their community, whether a tribe, a multiracial druidic circle, or an adventuring group. So if they join that group, they consider it to be their pack, essentially. A Lupin always knows his duty, and he rarely relinquishes it without a good cause. Dedicated and patient, they excel at tasks that require long periods of waiting, such as they make exceptional trackers, they grow particularly good grapevines, they're really good hunters, and yeah, that sort of thing. Lupins enjoy social interactions. They despise being alone, much like any dog. They make friends pretty easily, and they enjoy crowds, though not necessarily as the centre of attention, so they like to just sort of move through crowds because it's exciting. There's lots going on. Perhaps because they give their friendship and loyalty so easily, Lupins hold strong grudges against those who betray their trust. Many former business partners or adventuring companions have died at the hands of Lupins who felt taken advantage of or deceived. They take it seriously, even more seriously than some others, but though probably on a par with a dwarf. As social and gregarious creatures, Lupins get along fairly well with virtually all races. Only gnolls, goblinoids and werewolves need fair, inhospitable treatment from them. Even orcs they get on fairly well with, although they keep, they've got to keep a wary eye out for the aggression and hostility of orcs, but generally speaking the Lupins can stand their ground. Lupins consider dwarves and half-orcs smelly and less desirable as companions or guests than elves and half-elves or halflings, which they consider to be quite nice. The musty scents of gnomes and humans often agitate Lupin's sensitive noses, but not to the extent that they avoid those races. Regardless, the metal goods that dwarves and gnomes often bring to Lupin lands buy such guests lavish accommodations and sincere, if sometimes forced, invitations to return. For their part, dwarves enjoy the steadiness and patience of Lupins, while elves favour their gregarious natures and love of wild places and celebrations. Lupins don't care for the cities and prefer settlements no larger than a town. Their packs are busy enough. They can't imagine what it would be like to live with thousands of people who you have to keep track of. And understand. They don't really understand that people are completely impersonal in cities. It just doesn't compute. Though they lean strongly towards adventuring roles as rangers and druids, they make wonderful bards and find that they have a natural aptitude towards divine classes such as paladins and clerics. It doesn't take much to convince them that the gods are very real, and they are quite adaptable in their outlook on the world and the cosmos beyond. So if they have evidence of the gods and the gods' power, then they've got just as much chance as anybody else of following them and gaining divine power that way. They tend towards lawful alignments, not always good, sometimes neutral, but they don't tend towards chaos, and certainly they're not overly an evil race. Typical Lupin names include Crot, Turf, Rolf, Roff, Mataf, and Lab. And females are more like Aran, Jaka, Wara, Roti, Karan, and Fekin. Lupins usually present the young with two given names combined with a hyphen when written. One name from the father, usually one of his parents' names, and one from the mother, usually one of her parents' names. Thus, a male pup whose grandfathers are Lab Crot and Hector Roff might get the name Hector Lab or Roffcrot. The parents usually choose which one comes first based purely on how the two names sound together. I think they make for great characters and would be a very popular addition to the 5th edition as a playable race. As I said, Tabaxi are very popular, so it's only fair that dog lovers deserve their Lupins. As always, thanks for listening everybody. I'll be back for more for you very soon.